Brief summary. The psychosomatic control code of evolution is triggered by key stimuli that require a change or adaptation of behavior to the environment. The key stimuli can be internal, e.g. pain, or external, e.g. external environmental conditions. The subconscious mind reacts to changing life situations and checks whether protective mechanisms are needed to avoid stress or increase positive experiences. If a situation changes or is perceived as stressful, the subconscious is activated to search for a solution. If the situation is evaluated as positive, the subconscious can reinforce behavior patterns and habits or build new ones. If the evaluation is negative, the solution-seeking function is activated, and the subconscious is used to avoid stress. Negative experiences lead to avoidance or adaptation of the situation by the subconscious. 2.7. The psychosomatic control code of evolution, PCCE, generates the action control programs. The psychosomatic control code of evolution, PCCE, contains protective mechanisms to ensure survival and protection from stress. It is an important part of the subconscious mind that can react automatically to ensure survival and protection from negative influences. The circumstances of life and the living beings themselves change over time. However, the protective mechanism must always function, no matter how much everything has changed. The intensity with which an irritation is perceived varies from person to person and depends on various factors, such as biological and psychological influences. Every person feels pain or other stimuli to different degrees, and this subjective sensation plays an important role in the evaluation and processing of stimuli. The human nervous system can be irritated by external influences, as well as by internal, psychological or physical factors. These stimuli can influence our state of health and can be perceived by our body as stressful or positive. Internal influences also include psychological stresses, such as anxiety and depression, etc. The nervous system can detect a deviation from the individual normal stimulation. Such a deviation can be an indicator of an external or internal threat or stress and can activate the psychosomatic control code of evolution to take protective measures. The body responds to stress by secreting stress hormones to adapt to the challenge. These stress hormones prepare the body for short-term physical exertion and increase physical performance. However, if the stress is prolonged, it can lead to negative effects on health and well-being. Stress hormones can prompt the body to take more action and can act as a drive. They prepare the body to respond to a stressful or threatening situation by releasing energy reserves and speeding up certain bodily functions, such as heartbeat and breathing. People usually experience this stress drive as dissatisfaction, irritability, and physical restlessness. When the stress hormone release stress drive reaches a certain level, the person may experience physical and psychological stress symptoms such as palpitations, tension, nausea, nervousness, headaches, or sleep disorders. In this case, the subconscious mind tries to find a solution to the source of stress in order to reduce or eliminate the stress. The solution-finding function is called upon by the subconscious. See Chapter 14, The 10 Laws of Evolution, sub-item, Solution-Finding Function. The human being has had a stressful experience, and the subconscious tries to help him avoid further similar stressful experiences in the future. To do this, it uses various protective mechanisms, such as avoiding similar situations or adapting behavior to avoid future stresses. This can also involve changes in the person's emotions and attitudes to prevent further stressful experiences. The subconscious mind uses the memory of a stressful experience to help the person avoid similar stressful experiences in the future. The subconscious mind can respond to potential threats or stresses associated with past negative experiences by triggering stress hormones. This serves as a protective mechanism and helps the individual to adapt to or avoid the threat. The subconscious mind may use stimuli to which the individual has responded with avoidance as potential stressors for a dangerous situation to trigger stress hormones and support avoidance behavior. This serves as a protective mechanism to ensure the survival and protection of the individual. The strength of the reaction depends on which protective mechanisms have been triggered, The stronger the protective mechanism is activated, the stronger the stimulus can be felt. It depends on various factors, how individually each person can react to certain stimuli, but the subconscious will always react to possible threats and try to protect the person from them. The stress itself can then trigger adaptations, avoidance patterns, or the absolute avoidance of situations. These kinds of behavioral changes also fall under action control programs. See Chapter 12, Action Control Programs. Action control programs can be activated by our subconscious mind to help us avoid stressful situations or to prepare us for how to respond to them. These programs are formed based on past experiences and are part of our body's protective mechanism to help us overcome challenges and survive. The formation of action control programs occurs when a person has experienced stressful situations that he desperately wants to avoid because of their negative effects. Such experiences can lead to the subconscious developing mechanisms to avoid similar situations in the future. This can lead to the subconscious establishing behavioral patterns that help to avoid the situation in question in the future or to be prepared for it if it occurs again. These programs are stored in the subconscious mind and can be automatically activated when a similar situation is perceived. These programs can influence behavior patterns and beliefs and can become automated over time. Brief summary. The Psychosomatic Control Code of Evolution, PCCE, is an important part of the subconscious mind that provides protective mechanisms to ensure survival and protection from stress. The intensity with which an irritation is perceived varies from person to person and depends on biological and psychological influences. The human nervous system can be irritated by external and internal psychological factors that can influence how we feel. A deviation from the individual normal stimulation can activate the psychosomatic control code to take protective measures. The body reacts to stress by releasing stress hormones in order to adapt. However, if the stress is prolonged, this can lead to negative effects on health and well-being. Stress hormones prepare the body to respond to a stressful or threatening situation, but when stress hormone release reaches a certain level, physical and psychological stress can occur. 2.8 Action control programs influence people in all areas. Every area of life is permanently unconsciously controlled by pain avoidance programs and action control programs. Action control programs can influence a person's actions by filtering, altering emotions, thoughts, memories, perspectives, and other mental processes. These programs can arise when a person has negative experiences in certain situations and they want to avoid repeating those experiences. These programs are not always helpful, as they can sometimes lead a person to completely avoid certain experiences or activities rather than master or overcome them. Action control programs are controlled by the subconscious mind to avoid a potentially harmful or stressful situation that has been classified as life-threatening. They control the person's actions by filtering emotions, thoughts, memories, ways of seeing, etc. It is important to recognize that these programs can be based on an incorrect assessment of the situation and may be a limitation for the person. The action control programs can be triggered due to incorrect classifications of situations by the subconscious mind. This can lead to avoidance behavior, even if the situation does not pose a real danger. This can lead to a person avoiding a situation that he perceives as stressful, even if it is not necessarily actually life-threatening. This can be due to previous negative experiences or fears that are anchored in the subconscious. Why should these positive situations be avoided? Because the stress of losing these positive situations leads to a strong emotional burden. This creates a strong fear of loss. Examples of situations that can lead to pain of loss when positive emotions are lost are self-confidence, a lovingly opened heart, security, etc. The subconscious tries to avoid the renewed strong pain of loss by, for example, closing the lovingly opened heart feeling to such an extent that the loss of the still permitted heart feeling no longer triggers the instinct programming survival. If a person has had a particularly negative or stressful experience in relation to a particular situation, this fear of loss can arise. The subconscious mind can then use action control programs to help the person stay away from similar situations in the future, to avoid being stressed again. To avoid the situation of loss, the situation in which one could lose something is avoided. Fear of loss can lead people to avoid certain situations in which they fear losing something. This can lead them to adapt their behaviour and exclude certain possibilities in order to avoid the loss. This can lead to restrictions in everyday life and a reduction in quality of life. Action control programs ensure that negative thoughts, emotions, or physical discomfort cause the person to allow only a limited amount of positives in order to avoid the possibility that a loss will affect them too much. These action control programs can cause an avoidance of certain situations or a limited allowance of positivity. This is done to prevent the loss from causing severe stress again and to reduce the fear of loss. Avoiding situations or limiting positivity in the long run can lead to limited experiences and impaired relationships. The goal of the action control programs is survival. It is unimportant at that moment how survival is achieved. The goal of the action control programs is to protect the human being and guarantee that he survives. The subconscious mind has the goal of protecting the human being from possible dangers and threats and helping him to survive. To do this, it uses action control programs aimed at avoiding the loss of something of value to the human being. Emotions, thoughts, and behavior patterns play an important role in this process. It does not matter whether the actions are rational or irrational. The goal is survival and protection from stressful experiences. Although survival is the ultimate goal, it can be at the expense of quality of life or other important aspects of life. Whether you have depression, anxiety, doubt, or insecurity, all of these are better than reliving a perceived life-threatening situation. The subconscious mind is geared to protect the person from harmful situations by triggering stress levels to make the person stay away from dangerous situations. The subconscious mind cannot always correctly assess what is and what is not an actual life-threatening situation. Therefore, sometimes an overreaction can occur when the situation is not really dangerous, but the subconscious thinks it is. See Chapter 12, Action Control Programs.